Day 2 of free agency. We're getting the inside scoop on Drew Dalman and Grady Jarrett. Got a big show coming your way. CHGO Bears starts right now. Welcome into the CHGO Bears Podcast after a very busy first day of free agency, especially for your Chicago Bears. Adam Hoge, Marc Carman with you on this Tuesday as we continue free agency frenzy.
That's right, buddy. I'm expecting major news during the show today.
You are?
Yes. The Bears are not done. The Bears are never done. And I'm looking forward to hearing from some of the new Bears later in the week. But why don't we talk about the newest Bears after you tell everybody about this phenomenal sale opportunity that's going on right now, Hoge?
Yes, with free agency going on this week. CHGO diehard, we got you a sale. So for some reason you're not already a diehard, which you should be. Now's the time to do it. $36 for the entire year. Comes out to $3 a month. You can think about it that way. $3 a month for all our great content and our Fran Duffy loaded up diehard draft guide. That's all there for you, including my newsletter this morning, which you got the reaction on all the Bears free agents as well. But without further ado, we'll save the long snapper talk, although I really wanted to lead the show with it. We go out to the Hooters Hot Wing Hotline and bring in Marc Raimondi, who covers the Atlanta Falcons for ESPN and is kind enough to join us here for a segment on today's show to get the inside scoop on Grady Jarrett and Drew Dalman and why they are now Bears instead of Falcons. What's going on, Marc?
How's it going, guys?
Marc, who are you more excited for Bears fans right now? Is it Grady? Is it Drew? And will the Bears win the Super Bowl this year?
Of course. You guys have it all locked up in March. That's a hard question because I think that both guys definitely bring different skill sets in the locker room and also on the field. Drew Dalman, I think, has rounded into one of the better centers in the league over the last few years since he's been in Atlanta, and a guy that they have a very, very close-knit offensive line room, and he was a big part of that. And one of the things that I wrote going into the offseason was that a priority for the Falcons should be to sign Drew Dalman. But the fact is they just didn't have the cap space to do it. You know, he was going to be a little bit too rich for what they were able to pull off. But surely they would have loved to have Drew Dalman back on that line. And then Grady Jarrett he's like Mr. Atlanta. I mean, this is a guy that's done so much for the community. He's from Atlanta. He is beloved by the fan base here. And the release yesterday was shocking and upsetting to many Falcons fans.
Yeah, I mean, it including Arthur Blank a little bit, because he, I think there was like a comparison to Matt Ryan in terms of like two guys that, as the owner, he just, hated to see leave. So I guess let's go into the weeds a little bit there with Grady Jarrett, just what he meant to Atlanta and what he still has left, because I think that's the big question here with what the Bears are getting.
He meant an absolute ton to Atlanta. I mean, he was the heart and soul of the defense for a very long time. He was coming off his 10th year. He was on that Super Bowl team with Matt Ryan back in 2017. And just a guy that everyone loved. If you look at the Instagram pages of all the Atlanta Falcons players, at least the vast majority of them, they are paying their respects. They are talking, they are putting out there on their stories about Grady Jarrett and wishing him well in Chicago. And I think that speaks a lot to who he was as a human being, who he was as a person. And as far as a player, for a long time, one of the more dominant defensive tackles in the league. Didn't have that kind of a season in 2024. He was coming off the torn ACL, but certainly a guy that's still going to be able to give you production. And I think that being around some of the players that you guys have in Chicago, I think that he's going to have a very good season in 2025. I think he's going to have a little bit of a rebound season. He's in his 30s, right? I mean, I think he's obviously closer to the end of his career than the beginning. That's not a big secret, but certainly a guy that can still produce and still, get off the line and still penetrate and get to the quarterback.
Mark, it's a 3-year contract that's really a 2-year contract is basically what it really is. If I told you the Bears were able to get one really good season out of Grady Jarrett, and then maybe half of a solid season the following year, would you say that that's worth it for what you know about Grady Jarrett?
Yeah, I think you take it, especially just who he is as a person. I mean, he's a guy that, as far as defensive leaders goes, he's the guy that you want in your locker room. Everyone loves the guy. So he brings more to the team than just the production on the field, which is one of the reasons why I thought the Falcons were going to keep him. I thought they were going to be able to work something out and restructure because, again, he's from Atlanta. He's so well-liked and well-loved by the fan base here and by the people in the organization, the staff, everyone. So just the guy that, you're going to be getting a really great person as well as a great player in Chicago.
So you hear all that and you're like, well, if they liked him that much, why would they not find the money to keep him? And then my mind goes back to, well, maybe he's not the same player coming off the ACL tear. I mean, if we went back and read something from you, Mark, would it be like, this is probably the end of the road for him being the once like at the peak of his productivity player that he was?
Yeah, I mean, he's not in his prime anymore. I don't think anyone would argue that he's in his prime, but that doesn't mean he's still not a very good defensive tackle in the league. Especially, you have to consider that the Falcons did not have a very good defense in 2024. And if you put him alongside very good players and people who can rush the passer, which again, the Falcons could not do with any kind of consistency in 2024, he becomes a better player. He had to kind of do it on his own a lot this past season in Atlanta. And the reason why they had to let him go, and it wasn't because they didn't try to keep him. They did try to restructure. It didn't work out. The negotiations did not work out, but they did want him back. But frankly, it's like, they have Kirk Cousins, who is going to be the backup quarterback next year potentially, and he's eating up a ton of cap room. And there's not a whole lot of room for them to wiggle right now. So they had to make some very hard business decisions, even for a guy who was so beloved here in Atlanta.
I'm going to give you an opportunity here, Mark, to play amateur psychologist, which is maybe not your strong. I don't know. Maybe you're great at it. Do you think he leaves Atlanta like, oh, no, I'm missing home. I don't want to do this anymore? Or do you think he's coming in here with his hair on fire?
No, absolutely not. That's just not his character. I think he will absolutely have a chip on his shoulder coming to Chicago, and I think he's going to want to prove something to people, and I think he's going to be fired up. I do. And I think a year after the surgery, he's going to be even better.
Yeah, hearing a lot of that so far that, and like I said, maybe you get one really good year left out of Grady Jarrett. If he's stronger this year on that leg than last year, that'd be really good. So, but at the same time, I totally get it from the Falcons standpoint. Like I say this all the time on the show, Mark. It's always better to get rid of a guy a year too early than a year too late. And going into age 32 season, I totally get that from the Falcons standpoint. Got to clear the cap space. I guess I'm more confused on why they let Drew Dalman go, which sounds like you are too a little bit. You thought they should have re-signed him. It was a similar situation in Kansas City where the Chiefs had to franchise Trey Smith, and instead they let Joe Thuney go to the Bears. There's always ways to find a way to keep a guy if you really want to keep him, and they didn't do that with Dalman. So I guess that's what I'm still confused about. And by the way, I'm not trying to say Drew Dalman is Trey Smith's level, but just kind of a similar situation in the offensive line. You usually don't let good offensive linemen go, especially when they're still only 26 years old.
I think what the Falcons saw was this is a guy that he's a very good player, but when he was out for 8 games in 2024, Ryan Newsel filled in as the backup, and they were still he performed pretty well, and the offense was still running pretty good until Kirk Cousins had his kind of breakdown around midseason. So I think they didn't see a huge drop off from Dalman to Ryan Newsel, so they were comfortable going with Newsel and maybe a young player, maybe that someone they pick up in free agency, maybe someone they draft, rather than paying all that money for Dalman, who is now the second highest paid center as far as annual average in the entire NFL. And I don't think they were able to do that again because they have all this money tied up in Kirk Cousins. They're trying to figure out a way to, kind of shed some of that. And Dalman was just going to be a little bit out of reach for them. They have so many holes on their defense. They have, I mean, everywhere on their defense, they have holes. They can't rush the passer. You know, their secondary was pretty. I mean, they gave up the worst, opponent's completion percentage to quarterbacks in the entire league last year. So there's a lot of problems on defense they had to figure out before they can, Dalman was almost like a luxury in a sense.
We need leaders in Chicago here, Mark. Do you think he's going to come into the room and maybe perhaps partner with Joe Thuney and be the vocal guy in that O-line room, or is he more lead by example?
Lead by example. He's not a very vocal guy. He's a pretty quiet guy, very, very intense, very serious, goes about his business in a very purposeful way, in the locker room, but well-liked. His locker was right next to Chris Lindstrom, who was, of course, the all-pro, multi-time Pro Bowl right guard for Atlanta, maybe one of the best, if not the best right guards in the NFL. And those two were very close. So I know that was a big loss for Chris, I'm sure, losing Dalman, his buddy.
How do you do partnering with Penix and to get him off the ground?
It was they only really worked together for a few weeks, right? Because Penix was only the starter for 3 weeks. Then he was working on the backup team with Newsel and others. So there wasn't a whole lot of work. It was just really the last 3 games of the season where they worked together.
Okay. Mark, I got to be honest, I'm a little confused with the quarterback market so far and how things have played out. Justin Fields got paid. Not really sure what's going on in Pittsburgh, and obviously one of the pieces of the puzzle, you mentioned Kirk Cousins might just stay there as the backup. I mean, what are you anticipating here? Is you guys are covering all this in Atlanta right now, kind of on an hour-to-hour basis. Is the expectation that he's going to stay there?
Yeah, I saw something right before I got on. That's why I was a little bit late getting on. I saw something about Kirk Cousins in my messages, and I was like, oh boy, what happened? But it's nothing. It's nothing for right now. Things are still status quo. But it's funny. It seemed like a certainty that they would move on from Kirk Cousins. They would release him. Certainly, they would try to trade him. But the more and more you listen to the Falcons and you hear people around the league, it seems like they are pretty much going to try to. I mean, they're going to move him for the right price, but they are okay. They are comfortable with moving forward with Kirk Cousins as the backup to Michael Penix Jr. with the idea that they already had this money allocated for Cousins as the starter. So that money was already kind of like in their budget that they knew they were going to be spending. And Kirk Cousins is a better backup, I guess, than other possibilities out there. Michael Penix Jr. does have a history of injuries in college. So, he gets hurt. You put Kirk Cousins back in. But then there's, of course, the whole idea of like, do you want Michael Penix Jr. in his first full season as the quarterback looking over his shoulder at Kirk Cousins? And Cousins does not want to be a backup. He wants to be a starter somewhere. So there's kind of those frustrations on his part. It's a little bit of a complicated situation right now in Atlanta.
First time ever where the Bears can actually look at the Falcons, at least in a long time, and be like, our quarterback situation is a little more, makes a little more sense. Let's say it like that. Hey, last one on Dalman, and then I want to talk about your book. And Eric Beauchamp, who's one of our premium chatters, always with the good thoughts here. He's like, with Thuney on the line, I don't need Dalman to be a vocal leader. I need him to coordinate the protections to the rest of the line. What grade would you give him on doing that? How much did you hear about that, Mark?
Good. And, he's a guy that is the scheme that the Falcons have run for a long time since Dalman has been in Atlanta has been zone blocking. And I believe Ben Johnson will have something pretty similar to that in Chicago coming over. And Dalman is a fantastic run blocker. I mean, you look at a guy like Bijan Robinson. He has blossomed with, Dalman as the center. And of course, Chris Lindstrom as a right guard is crucial to that as well. So I think, as far as run blocking, one of the best in the league, certainly a good enough pass blocker and a guy that, that will strengthen a line that I'm sure that I got to tell you guys was not very good last year.
No, it sucked. That's why we're here right now. But it better be better. Let's put it like that. And congratulations to Ryan Poles. It'll be interesting to hear from these guys coming up later this week. Hey, Mark, you wrote a book, How Professional Wrestling's New World Order Changed America. The title is Say Hello to the Bad Guys.
It's that big poster he's got behind him.
Huge poster. Our guy, Greg Braggs.
Shameless self-promotion right here. Shameless self-promotion.
I love it.
That's A+ work right there. Our guy, Gregory P. Allen Braggs, who normally is on this show but is recovering from knee surgery at home today. He's got a $5 super chat. Oh, wow. Ask Mark his favorite NWO moment ever. And why is it Rodman joining as the Wolfpack era underappreciated for what it was? I hope you understand what he just said. I don't, but
No,
I'm
I don't,
sure Mark
but I have a
does.
feeling Mark does.
Well, I'll say this: I have some very interesting anecdotes about Dennis Rodman that I think Chicago sports fans would be interested in reading about, and his time with the NWO. You know, missing practice during the NBA Finals in '98. You know, to be with the NWO and Hollywood Hulk Hogan. That was definitely a special, unique time in the world as far as pro wrestling and sports goes. And the Wolfpack era. I mean, come on, the Wolfpack. It's it is what it is. It was it could have been more than what it ended up being. And just to fill you guys in, the Wolfpack was when the NWO kind of split off into two different groups and became, Hulk Hogan's, Hollywood Hogan's NWO Hollywood, and Kevin Nash's Wolfpack. And the Wolfpack was big. It was over. It was very popular. But I wish it would have kind of it would have gotten more juice a little bit. I think it didn't last long enough to kind of get that push it needed.
I'm going to age myself here. And when my friends started watching wrestling, I was like, what's wrong with you? That's how you want to spend your Friday nights? But like literally in the 80s, they were all watching. And my guy was Jimmy Superfly Snuka, Mark. That dude could get it. He'd go off the top, climb up to the top of the cage and fly out there. I was just looking it up right now. Apparently he passed away in 2017, but Superfly was flying back in the day.
He certainly was one of the greats of the the early 80s, and kind of helped things move toward the mid 80s when Hulk Hogan came to the WWF and WrestleMania 1 and then that whole thing. But yeah, Superfly was definitely a big name.
Where do we find the book, Mark?
You can pre-order right now. It comes out June 24th, but it's available right now. Pre-order Amazon, Barnes & Noble, really anywhere that you can pre-order books. It should be out there. It's a Simon & Schuster published book, so hopefully it'll be easy to find.
Awesome.
Barnes & Noble it is.
Thank you, Mark, for joining us today. Appreciate your insight on the Falcons free agents, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks so much, Mark.
Marc Raimondi, who does a great job covering the Falcons for ESPN. And we got a lot more coming up here. You know, I don't know if people noticed, there's an NFC North team that followed a very similar strategy as the Chicago Bears yesterday that we need to talk about. Who won that little battle within the NFC North that went on yesterday. So that's coming up next. But first, light beer. It just got better. You know this because Sam Adams American Light is here. It is clean. It is crisp. It is super easy to drink. There's no gimmicks. There's no fluff. Sam Adams American Light is not your average light beer. It is brewed with 100% American-sourced ingredients from local independent farmers. It's light beer that's made right. Light beer should not feel like a compromise. This is an American classic so smooth you'll want to crack open another one. I know I do. It's always Sam season. Light beer just got better. Grab some Sam Adams American Light, available now at select Chicago retailers. Must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
You know what I did this morning, Hoge? Came out of the gate strong.
Limped your way to the bathroom when you woke up?
That's true, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Then I died, and then I lived, and then I took a shower, and then I was like, you know what? That ain't enough. I got to go head to toe. I got to go Mando. That's right. Men's deodorant has never been better. And yes, it keeps every part of your body fresh and clean. And that's right. It's all over me today, buddy. There will not be anything but good smells coming from every orifice right here. It's the whole body deodorant, the pits, the balls, the thigh folds, the belly buttons, the butt crack, everything. I am ready for my day. I feel so good with my friends at Mando. The Mando starter pack, that's perfect for you, the new customer. You get the solid stick deodorant, use that. You get the cream 2 deodorant. Didn't use that today, but then I did go with the 2 free products, the mini body wash, the deodorant wipes, all good stuff here. Free shipping, by the way, and a special offer for you, the new customer, $5 off your starter pack with our exclusive code. Use that CHGO code at shopmando.com, shopmando.com. And please support our show and tell them we sent you. If you're sitting at home in a wheelchair and you have no idea when you're going to be able to shower next and you want to be remotely passable to the people that are in your life, going to the doctor today and coming in here tomorrow, I highly recommend for you, Honey Bear, get yourself some Mando. Gregory P. Allen. Thank you.
That's right. That's right. By the way, Greg Braggs is recovering from his knee surgery today, for those asking. He's all over the comments. And
we really appreciate the fact that Greg is contributing to the show the way he can today, and just the level of caring that Greg shows at all moments is really inspiring to me.
He'll be back tomorrow. He'll be fine. He had some appointment today. He's fine. He's in your comments. And
are people really missing him?
I mean, Steven is.
Steven does miss him. I do too. Yesterday
we had a lot of comments.
I think the new nickname Honey Bear is really going to catch on.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking I'm going to get him I think you got to be able to order an outfit, right? There's got to be something I can get him for his birthday. When's his birthday? Anybody? Nobody knows his birthday?
Who, Greg?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's in one of the months.
I know when your birthday is.
Yours is in November.
August.
Same month.
I think you're in September, February.
April.
It's coming up.
Yeah. It is.
There you go. We need to be friendlier here.
We do. Brags in the stands, $2. Thank you, Spanking McNobrains.
You got it, Honey Bear.
Yeah, and Honey Bear. At some point, I'm going to need to be briefed. I'm getting texts, and now I saw a comment about how Jerron Dexter's mad at me, so we're going to have to find out what the hell that's about.
Big Dex is mad at you?
Yeah. Well, Greg probably cut some video in some weird way to... I have no idea. We'll follow up on that. In the meantime, this is our Prize Picks Run Your Game segment. Download the app today. Use code CHGO to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. I should say it's our Prize Picks Pick'em segment. Prize Picks Run Your Game. And we need to pick them here because the Bears loaded up on the offensive and defensive line. The Minnesota Vikings in the NFC North loaded up on the offensive and defensive line. And we're going to kind of compare what happened yesterday / over the last week, because for the Bears, they made 2 moves last week, obviously. And we're going to pick them. I think it's going to be probably a relatively
Bears-centric, Bears biased
in the comments. But it is interesting, so I wanted to bring this up. So let's take a look at what both of these teams have done. The Bears, of course, adding Joe Thuney, Jonah Jackson, and Drew Dalman to their offensive line. You go to what the Vikings did on their O-line. So the Bears ended up with Drew Dalman at center. The Vikings went cheaper, $9 million APY, shorter deal for Ryan Kelly, who, of course, is older, and we've talked about. And then they also went out and got Will Fries on a pretty sizable $88 million deal over 5 years. And Will Fries, of course, coming off some injuries, doesn't have quite the same amount of experience. Certainly not as Joe Thuney, right? So let's just talk O-line, then we'll bring that graphic back up when we talk about the D-line. But I like what the Bears did better there. I feel like the Vikings ended up sort of with plan B compared to what, like Ryan Kelly's plan B to Drew Dalman. There's no question. And then it's hard to beat Joe Thuney in terms of, like, you might have gotten the best guard available in the league.
Yeah, I do give the edge to the Bears. One, I mean, your Will Fries, that's a lot of dough for somebody who had a significant injury last year, and the Bears are going the shorter route. It's more of a stopgap than a long-term play. The Vikings are actually feels like we're dating and they're getting married. But I like the dating move here a lot more with a 2-time All-Pro versus the big swing of the dice with Will. And then at center, I liked Ryan Kelly. We talked about it on the show. Veteran, angry. We put the face up there. Been an absolute stalwart for the Colts for a long time. But look, in this case, we're getting married and they're dating. So I overall, I like what the Bears did more.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the O-line, I'm gonna pick the Bears between that battle. A little unfair because they got an extra player. But I also, I understand.
We didn't even mention Jonah. Yep.
Yeah, Jonah Jackson's in there too. I guess you could even say, would you rather have Jonah Jackson or Will Fries?
I'd rather Will Fries than Jonah Jackson, who wasn't healthy. But
Yeah, but neither was Will Fries last year.
I know.
He had a significant injury.
I don't know. It's $17 million
I love it
a
when you
year.
make some weird noise.
Yeah, $17 million for a guy that's you're asking to go play a different position. I'm a little confused by the whole Jonah Jackson thing.
Well, it's the switching of the position that I'm a little nervous about. But, they got Dan Rouchar now, the greatest offensive line coach in the history of football.
I mean, it's very Ryan Palsy, the Jonah Jackson thing. Let me go sign this guard that barely played last year. Let's pay him $17 million and let's have him change positions. That's not what I would have done, but that's what they did.
Well, and they still have Ryan Bates sitting there when they could save $4 million.
Can you explain that one to me?
I've already tried a million times.
Do it again.
Okay, well, there's this thing called depth you need on both your offensive and defensive line. And as of right now, the Bears do not need to clear that $4 million.
They don't?
They don't.
Isn't there a safety out there that could help on depth more than
They still can make more moves.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
me
mean,
personally, I would cut Bates for the $4 million, but he does offer some versatility. He could play guard and center, even though we didn't see him play center last year. He did for the Bills. Maybe they're just keeping him as kind of that swing offensive lineman.
He can be a hurt option at guard and a hurt option at center. I mean, I'm missing the Ryan Bates thing. I get it. You tried to get it for years on end. It's so hard to say goodbye. Okay, back to the Vikings.
Well, but
please.
here's the deal, guys. It's not a hot take for anybody to be like, Ryan Bates is better suited as the backup, or Gervon Dexter is better suited as the rotational defensive tackle. Because guess what? That's what the Bears just told you. They just went out and spent a bunch of money on these guys and bumped those starters from last year to the second team.
Did you see what Hoge just did there? He tried to get out of that Dexter hate by making logical statements and lumping him in with Bates. That's why Dexter's after you. You lumped him in with Ryan Bates.
I don't know why. I don't. I'm just saying you can be mad at us all you want, but they're the ones that signed your replacement.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
I got it. I just don't.
But my point is, and they can take this as a slight as much as they want. I think Ryan Bates is perfectly suited to be your interior backup. I think he can play all three spots. That's good depth to have. You're going to need it. If the Bears have all 5 offensive linemen start every single game or next year, it'll be a miracle. I don't think that's happened since the Super Bowl year.
That is the first time that it did land to me.
Okay.
What his value would be, that he could play all 3 if they get hurt. That is a good guy to have. I hear that.
Yes.
I mean, again, I'll go back to my point that I made 2 minutes ago, which is he'll be hurt at all 3 and won't be able to get up. He has an arthritic shoulder. Can't Bill Murray play all 3 of them? He's the great Bill Murray. Look at that guy. Telling me he can't get in there and snap the football? Let's go, Bill Murray.
That is when you're just on brand as just the glorious Bears fan that you are. It's just
that's right.
There's nothing Bears fans love doing more than taking like some random guy who's like 80th on the roster and being like, you know what, this guy's the future.
Listen, I had to fight against the honey bear who wanted to keep every single one of these as a backup. Now I'm leaning into the brilliance that could be Bill Murray, and you're pushing back.
I'm not. My point is,
I'm tough to deal with. I know. Believe me. I have to deal with myself all day long. It's not easy.
When you are running an NFL team, you have to have competition. And you can't just say, we love competition. You have to actually have good competition.
Okay.
So I like what I saw from Bill Murray last year. I didn't see enough that tells me he's a starter. Obviously, the Bears didn't either. But is he somebody that I can't wait to see at camp battle this thing out? And it's the same thing with Gervon Dexter. By the way, we got to get to these other defensive guys. But Gervon Dexter, what I actually said about Gervon Dexter is I think he's a good player whose slow get-off does not make him an ideal 3 technique, but he can play both spots. And if he's the third guy consistently rotating, still playing a ton of football for you, it's a really good spot for him. I think they'll get better play and better value out of him there now that they have Grady Jarrett.
They got 8 draft picks is what I'm just going to say back to
There's
this.
that too.
There's 8 draft picks. You better find me somebody better than Ryan Bates
They
in
still
your
have 8 after they traded the 6th rounder?
Oh, my bad. They have 7.
Yeah,
My bad. I
think they
forgot
have
about the
7,
6th rounder going out.
Yeah.
My
All
bad.
right, let's take a look at the Vikings, what they did on their D-line compared to what the Bears did, because these moves came in, I think, after we got done with our second show yesterday. Of course, the Bears adding Grady Jarrett, which we just talked about, and Dio Odangbo, who is Carm's new favorite player in the entire NFL. But some big moves here by the Vikings. Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave. I can't see the money anymore, but it's a lot.
Oh, Hoge getting old. Old Hoge. Say it all you want. Call me old Carm.
Well, Hargrave's the biggest deal that's even on the besides.
Yep.
See, here's the thing. One of the things I know I've made this point a couple times. I like when you look at all 5 of those players on the Bears side of that. There's nobody, unless they extend Tooney, which is on the table, there's nobody there that's killing you beyond 2 years if it doesn't work out. I mean, that Hargrave deal, he just signed big money with the 49ers 2 years ago, and they already let him go. So I like Jonathan Allen. I like Hargrave, but those contracts are different than what the Bears did, which are 3-year deals that are really 2-year deals.
Right. Keeping your powder clean. We're doing stopgap stuff here and hoping that you're going to hit big on the draft, right? That's the plan here. 10, 39, 41, 72. Let's get somebody who's ready to step in as early as next season, at least and this year on a rotational basis. Look, I gotta see Grady Jarrett play and see what's left here to really know. On the surface, I would bet on more productivity from the Vikings this year. As far as the philosophy, what the Bears are doing, I have no problem with it whatsoever. But if you're asking me who's going to put up more numbers last year, who's going to have more of an impact on the field, I think the Vikings have an edge. Okay. Despite Dio Odangbo's about to bust out and be the greatest Dio Odangbo that he's ever been. Let's go, Dio.
All right. Coming up next, we're going to give out some free agent awards. Best signing, worst signing, things we're confused about. It's all coming up in our next segment. But first,
Adam Hoge, let me put my glasses on because, yes, it's true. I am not getting any younger over here. And
well, you not only want your glasses.
Oh, that's right.
I think you want these little things.
That's why I put these out here because Lord knows in the distance.
Oh, they work better when you take the cover off the lenses.
Put these covers on here. I had these. What kind of situation? Who's doing the work around here? Thank you. Oh my God! In the distance, I think I see Kevin Kadek working hard in his office, and perhaps, I don't know, another wide receiver coming to the Chicago Bears. Let's go. But shout out to our friends at Right On. Whatever you want to see, you're not going to see them any better than these. They manufacture the best stuff here, and this is better views from the top of the United Center, from the top of Soldier Field, from your pool in Indiana to your, if you're headed out to say, I might be taking a trip here soon. I'm thinking about going to Arizona. Maybe I'll take it to the Grand Canyon with me. Right On offers higher performance at a lower price. It's the perfect balance of performance and value. That's what you're looking for. Don't have to break the bank to buy these. And Right On, you can feel comfortable. They've been around for over a decade. Every product, full quality control inspection. You don't last this long if you're not putting out the good stuff. The Right On promise is an unlimited lifetime warranty. Defects, accidental damage, drops, all the things, anything that can happen bad, they got you covered. Check out the full line of our friends at Right On Products today. RITON optics.com/CHGO. That's RITON optics.com/CHGO.
And going on right now at Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake, it's the March Radness sales event. That means the latest vehicles you've been looking for are now priced with game-winning savings like 0% financing for 60 months, $0 down, 0 payments for 90 days, plus 0 hidden fees on select new Chevy models. That's a lot of zeros, and the good kind of zeros if you're trying to buy a vehicle. You could also check out their selection of over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. And here's the deal with Ray Chevy. They are Chicagoland's they have one of Chicagoland's largest Chevy inventories, which means as one of the top selling dealers in the Midwest, they're able to keep their prices competitive. so you know you'll get a great deal. Plus, they have Race Price Promise. We tell you about it all the time. It lets you shop confidently because a guarantee, there's no add-ons, there's no hidden fees, there's no gimmicks. The price you see, the price we talk about here on the show, that's the price you pay when you go into the store. Go see for yourself. Visit our partner this March at their convenient location right off of Route 12 in Fox Lake. You do not want to miss out on the March Radness sales event going on all month long for 0% financing on select new Chevy models. Shop Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or at raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive. One accounting detail I wanted to start the show with but got vetoed. The Bears they've made a move at long snapper.
This was tough to veto you on, but it had to be done because of Marc Raimondi, but go ahead.
It is somewhat significant, though, because
No, it isn't.
Patrick Scales.
It's definitely not significant, but go ahead.
Okay.
I don't mean to make it insignificant, but go ahead. Tell us. Talk about the great.
You don't think it matters that? Did it matter when Patrick Manley retired?
No. Did it?
I'm clipping that and texting that to him when the show's over.
I mean, let me ask you something.
wait.
This is bad for me.
Can't wait to see you wiggle out of this one.
This is bad for me. But a great Bear. But listen, you know what's
tenured Bear?
You know what's important? You know what's important, Hoge? Being able to snap the ball to the quarterback. All right? You know what's not as important? Be able to snap the ball to the punter. Because, there's a lot of guys out there that can do it. Not necessarily to the level that Patrick Manley did. But if you're asking me,
I do have to say it hurt my argument that Cole Kmet just came in cold.
You telling me Scott Daly can't do it as well as Patrick Scales?
Hey, one of those kicks got blocked, didn't they? In that game, there was an issue with one of those snaps. Look, the point is, Patrick Scales was a Bear for a long time and got hurt in training camp last year, somewhat mysteriously. And the Bears have apparently he's healthy now, and the Bears have decided to move on. Scott Daly came in. He took over, did a fine job last season. One of the many people I talked to in the locker room at Lambeau after the game-winning kick with Cairo Santos. He had a baby that week and beat the Packers.
It's big
had
time.
The game-winning long snap.
Yep.
Anyway, they re-signed him to a one-year deal. So, yeah, it's a game-winning long snap.
That literally should be a stat.
Yeah.
Who had the game-winning long snap?
This is why I'm respected by long snappers everywhere.
No,
you're not, especially after
you're one of the great special teams suck up to whoever is doing whatever, coaching and playing and doing things that no one thinks about in the history of the NFL. You have that time.
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah. No, you're doing a great job.
Okay.
Bit of news coming out. Leonard Floyd released per Adam Schefter.
By the Bills?
And Gary Ross had it in our chat.
Was he on the Bills?
Wasn't he on the Bills?
I think he was on the Bills before. Is he a Ram?
No, I think he went Rams, then Bills.
Oh, is it? I have it backward.
All right.
Wasn't he a Chief?
Just naming teams.
Oh, he's a Niner. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, he was with the Niners last
Red.
year.
There it is.
Bills 2 years ago. All right. If you can't name what team he was on last year, you don't get to sign him.
He had 8.5 sacks last year, which would have led the Bears.
That's not accurate.
Who had more than 8.5 on the Bears?
He had 4.5 sacks last year.
Leonard Floyd.
Yeah.
Why does this say 8.5? What are you looking at?
Well, I'm looking at Carmapedia, so maybe you have a better source.
I trusting that I'm correct here. I know how to look at stats like nobody else in the history of the world on Pro Football Reference. I doubt they're wrong. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, this is why you should. I fell into a Carmapedia trap. That was a bad move by me, and I apologize.
Carm wins. By the way, shout out to Leonard. Left the Bears in 19, 3 sacks. Next year with the Rams, 10.5. Next year, I know they had better players, 9.5. Next year after that, 9. Then he goes to Buffalo, 10.5. Then he goes to the Niners, 8.5. I don't know.
You know what all those teams, though, had in common? Although I will say he played with good players in Chicago, too. He had Khalil Mack. He had Akeem Hicks.
We didn't know how to use him.
But I was going to say, I mean, the Rams had Aaron Donald. The Buffalo Bills have a great front.
I'll give you another stat on him. 18, 16 games, 16 starts. 19, 16 and 16, 20, 16 and 16. And the last 3 years, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 16, 17. The dude plays.
Hey, he's put together a pretty damn good career. All right. Do we have what Amon-Ra St. Brown said? We do not have that. Okay. Well,
he said the Bears are the greatest team ever, and I can't believe that Ryan Poles is cooking at this level, and I don't even want to compete against him next year. That's what he said.
Yeah. Well, the point is the Lions players are certainly noticing what Ben Johnson's doing here in Chicago, and they seem to be annoyed with it, which is a good thing. Let's get into our free agency awards that we're going to talk about here. We're going to talk about best signing, worst signing, and we're also going to mention each pick a team that we're going to call the "What the hell are they doing?" team. So that's coming up. I'm going to let you go first here. Best signing. These are for the whole NFL, by the way. These are not just Bears moves. They could be Bears moves, but best signing out there. Carm, go ahead.
Yeah, so, you look at the money that Milton Williams got, and you look at what people thought that they were going to get. The Cardinals getting Josh Sweat for $41 million guaranteed to reunite with Jonathan Gannon, who knows him well. I know that he hasn't had, a decade-long run of being productive, but he was unbelievably productive last year. He was unbelievably productive in the Super Bowl. He was a top-of-the-market guy, and to get him for that number when everybody else is getting paid, $100+ million, you're getting him at 71 plus 41 guaranteed. I thought it was a great job by the Cardinals to get Josh Sweat done for that. I would have been like no on Sweat for the Bears, but at that number I would have said yes.
Yeah, I think it's a great fit for him too. I agree that that's one of the better signings. So shout out to our guys at PHNX. Should be excited about that one.
Bo got that done. Johnny got that done. Shane got that done.
And the familiarity too with Jonathan Gannon is a good thing too. That they've been together before, so you trust that one a little bit more. All right, I'm gonna play Homer Hoge here.
Homer Hoge is out.
I just wanted to know. I spent a lot of time looking through the long list of underwhelming free agent signings that are going on around the league right now. I think the best one is Drew Dalman signing with the Chicago Bears. I think that's the best free agent signing that happened on day one of free agency across the entire league. I think in terms of fit, it's perfect. It fills a massive need that the Bears have had for a long time. And on top of that, came out to $14 million per year. I mean, this thing was rumored that it could get up $18, $19 million based on the lack of supply at the position. And it's only a 3-year deal. It's only a 2-year deal. So you could check every box of whether it's the contract, the fit, the need, the player. He's still ascending. He's only 26. I think it hits all the boxes. It's a perfect fit for Ben Johnson's offense. So when I was kind of looking at those same boxes across all the free agent signings I was going through that happened yesterday, I got Drew Dalman number 1 overall in the entire league.
Hey, Bears fans ain't gonna argue, man. And the Athletic does it by tiers. He's in the second tier, and it's just kind of fun to look at the money for me. I mean, Will Freeze is 14, Dalman is 15, 5 and 88, 3 and 42. That makes that puts a smile on my face. I love value. No. It doesn't. I get you maybe overpaid a drop, but the money came in a lot more comfortable with Drew than I thought it would too. So that worked out.
All right, worst signing. Who you got?
So this just feels like something the Bears would do in Bears years gone by. We need a left tackle. Let me go get the guy who, since he came in the league in 2021 as a 4th rounder, allowed the most sacks and the most pressures, and let me pay him premium money. And that's what the Tennessee Titans have done with Dan Moore Jr., which is just straight wild. Now, of course, Tennessee allowed 52 robust sacks last year, but Dan Moore got 4 years and 82 million buckaroos. Most sacks allowed since 21. That's something the Bears would normally do. Let me go get this guy. I'm the smartest guy in the room. He wasn't used properly. We're gonna mess. We got somebody who can really, impact his footwork. He's gonna be paired with our guy at left guard. We're gonna stick him next to Joe Tooney. He's gonna be nails. That's what we would do. That's what the Titans did. I don't know, man. That's frightening to me. So Tennessee, come on down. Dan Moore.
I think that's a good one. I think the left tackle market played out how we were worried the center market would play out, where there were just not that many good options and some teams overpaid. And that's a perfect example, which is the opposite of what the Bears managed to do with the center situation. All right, for me, I want to be clear. I like Milton Williams, but the Patriots definitely overpaid here. 4 years, $104 million for a guy who really hasn't even been a full-time starter and was playing on one of the best, probably the best defensive front, definitely the best defensive front in football for the Philadelphia Eagles. So it's kind of like when we talk about Sam Darnold, who's also going to come up here. It's like, is he really going to be able to replicate what he did in Philly at a much higher price point in New England with less talent around him, and he's got to play more snaps because there's going to be more responsibility? I find that hard to believe that he's going to be able to live up to this contract. Now, the only justification for it, if you're New England, they had a ton of cap space. At the end of the day, if it comes down to, do we pay this guy an extra $3 million per year to make sure we get him? They're in a spot where they could have done it. They did do it. But, man, when you're talking about a $30 million per year cap hit over the last 3 years of this deal, I mean, we're talking that's like top tier edge rusher money. That just seems kind of wild to me. So that to me was the worst free agent signing.
Yeah, I'm not pushing back on any of that whatsoever. Do we want to do teams?
Yeah, so this is my favorite category. We're going to discuss the what the hell are they doing team. And there's some good candidates.
Why don't you go first? Because I'm going back and forth in my head.
Yeah. You want to think about Houston at all, maybe?
They were in there.
Okay.
They were in there. But
well, I'll give you some time here to shore that up. I'm going to go – I think you have a good one, though, with the team in Pennsylvania.
I do, and I think, but I might pivot to the team in Ohio.
There's a few good options. I'm going to go to Seattle, though. I understood trading away DK Metcalf because I think that they were going to be forced to be in a situation where he's getting – and I think he is already getting, because the Steelers paid him, more money than he's really worth. I think he's a really good wide receiver, but to me, he's not Jamar Chase. He's not Justin Jefferson level. So I understood why they had to make a tough decision there. And they got Jackson Smith and Jigba coming up, and it's the wide receiver spot. So you can find another guy out there, probably draft a guy, whatever, and make it work from a receiver room standpoint. Quarterback is a different animal. If you were to tell me that they were going to trade Geno Smith, I would have said, okay, well, maybe this is a year where they're going to go, it's like loaded in the draft like last year was with quarterbacks, and they're going to be able to get a much younger option, and they're just hitting the reset button there. They're getting something back for them. What they essentially did here was they got $10 million cheaper at the position, and they got a third-round pick back to get Sam Darnold. Is Sam Darnold better than Geno Smith?
I don't think he is.
And here's the thing. Even if Sam Darnold is able to replicate what he did in Minnesota, where he had Kevin O'Connell, Justin Jefferson, and Jordan Addison, and a better offensive line. Not a great offensive line, but a better offensive line than he's going to have in Seattle right now, unless they make some major additions very, very soon. All of that seems unlikely. But even if he were to replicate what he did in Minnesota, he still choked when it came to the playoffs. His two worst games were Week 18 against the Lions and then in the playoffs against the Rams.
I hate the word choke, but in this case, it kind of applies.
It definitely applies.
Yeah.
So if you're getting rid of Geno Smith, who are you replacing him with? And to give Sam Darnold over $100 million over the course of 3 years. Yes, it's technically cheaper than Geno Smith. I don't know, man. What the hell are they doing?
Yeah, and, Pete Carroll ain't walking through that door either to save the whole situation too. So I get it. I get it. It's a big bet, and also it's a punt on a dude who really saved your ass for a while too. So I don't like that part of it either. Can we listen? I was going to talk about the Steelers because
we can go through a few teams here if you want.
Yeah, and you can tackle Houston, but like Pittsburgh. What are you doing at quarterback exactly? You're even last year at 4-2, you're benching Justin for Russ, which has ended badly all the time. I almost wondered at the time, are you doing this because you don't want to give the Bears the 4th round pick? Is that why you're making this decision? I didn't quite get it. Now you let him go to the Jets for no money because you don't want to make him a starter. You want to draft a quarterback down the line. I'm not following the logic here. But aside of that, let me move over to the Bengals. Because you've decided that you're marrying Jamar Chase, okay, which makes sense to me, but those contract negotiations are dragging out forever. You're dating T. Higgins, who you franchise tag for the 2nd year, make a decision. Hello, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And now you're punting, you're benching, you're breaking up with Trey Hendrickson, who had 17.5 sacks on a defensive line that stunk. Now, what else have you done, like, to try to figure out what the money here? Because you paid Mike Gesicki $12 million a year for a couple of years. You paid B.J. Hill 3 years and $33 million on the D line. Dude, you have one of the best players in the NFL sitting there. Don't pay somebody else before you make a decision on that. You don't know how this is going to wrap up. You have a premium player who wants to stay, who is married to you, and you're deciding to divorce him. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. So to Cincinnati, who always seems to do things that are completely insane, and Joe Burrow rescued him for 5 seconds and got him to the Super Bowl. The Bengals are way out over their skis doing things that don't make sense.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
What about the Patriots? You know, obviously they hire a defensive-minded head coach in Mike Vrabel, a guy that played for the Patriots as well, but they've done almost nothing on offense. They signed Morgan Moses at offensive tackle, and then their main wide receiver addition so far is Mac Hollins. That's meaning that they have to use, as of right now, the entire draft to fix the offense. You got your franchise quarterback in Drake May, and they've done almost nothing to support him.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have a hell of a draft.
I mean, can you guys name the wide receivers on the Patriots right now? It's not pretty.
No, I can't. Other than Mac Hollins.
Mac Hollins, my guy. 15 in 5 years.
DeMario Douglas.
Oh, and they have Polk.
Yeah, Jalen Polk.
Who had some drop issues last year, but I actually like him.
Keyshawn Boutte. I mean, yeah, this isn't good. Drake May needs support.
Yeah. I'll go down to Pittsburgh and address them because Mike Tomlin has found himself in what we like to call quarterback hell, I think. This is ever since Roethlisberger retired, the Kenny Pickett thing didn't work out. They scrambled last year. I didn't hate their strategy of having Russell Wilson and Justin Fields in there together. But when push came to shove, I think they just fell too much in love with Russell and what he did for a decent part of the season. Don't get me wrong. But he fell apart late, and obviously enough that they didn't want to bring him back. But I didn't feel like they ever really gave Justin Fields a good enough chance. Now Justin Fields gets paid in New York, which the more I thought about, I'll address that in a minute. I actually think that's a better fit than I originally gave credit to off the top of my head yesterday. But let's just think about it this way. At this point, any team, just you're starting a team from scratch, whatever. Would you rather have Justin Fields or Aaron Rodgers?
I'd rather have Justin Fields.
Steven?
Right now?
Yeah. You're starting a team from scratch.
That's a no-brainer.
Wow,
you really don't like Fields.
I might take Rodgers there. If we're talking 1 year.
Okay.
1 year right now. If it's multiple years, then sure, Fields.
I'm not saying there's not a case for it, but obviously the Jets made their decision. They released Rodgers, and then they signed Justin Fields. And so if Pittsburgh ends up grabbing Aaron Rodgers, I mean, look, of the other options available right now, it might be the best, but do we think the Steelers will win a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers this coming year?
To me, the only place that Aaron Rodgers can go and be 68% of what he once was, if that, is to go to Minnesota. He goes to Pittsburgh. They don't have enough to make him look good, I don't think.
Well, they do have DK Metcalf and
I forget
George Pickens now.
Did forget about the DK Metcalf for a second there. That was a little bit of a calm brain fart. That helps. That'll help.
And they have a good defense still. But
I still think he's better off in Minnesota. But okay,
they do have a terrible offensive line too. I think
Yeah.
they were 28th or 29th in the NFL last season.
yeah, and let's not pretend that like Rodgers had some weapons in New York too. Garrett Wilson's pretty damn good.
sure is.
I mean, there's some players there, and it just didn't work. So I don't know. The Steelers are confusing to me. I can't figure out what they're doing. So they're also a what the hell are they doing team. And then I want to throw the Houston Texans in there too, because I'm just confused. I know they came in, they broke onto the scene a little bit faster than they even thought, and a lot of it had to do with CJ Stroud's rookie season. But they seem to almost be like resetting now. Because it's not even, okay, it's one thing to cut bait with Laramie Tunsil and try to get something back in return. But if you look at the picks they actually got, it's a third rounder this year, but the second and fourth rounder they got aren't even until next year.
Right.
So this isn't like we're immediately loading up on picks to try to, keep this thing moving in a positive direction. They seemingly have very quickly gotten worse, and I just find it confusing because they seem to be a team that's pretty close, especially in a not so great division.
Well, who's protecting CJ? That's
the thing. It's just, you have this asset in CJ Stroud, and you did the opposite of what the Bears just did, and you're making your line worse.
It's hard to and everyone talk copycat league. Dude, CJ's going his third year. Did you look at the Eagles? They just won the Super Bowl. This is you're going the opposite way. The Texans have been absolutely confusing.
I'm going to preface this with saying I think it was a terrible move for the Texans, but Laramie Tunsil had 19 penalties last season. Maybe that was just something that wore thin with the Texans brass.
And that's way too many. A big part of that, I know he was jumping, he's false starting a lot. So I don't know if that had to do, I didn't watch a ton of Texans football last year, but, that may have had to do with these tackles that are trying to get these jumps at the line of scrimmage, and then some get called for it more than others. I don't know. All right, do we have super chats to get to? Let's get to some supers here before we get out of here on this Tuesday. By the way, thank you to everybody that watched yesterday's two shows. It was added up to over 4 hours of free agent content, and just a ton of people watched, so we greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, we are here for you when anything happens, and that's part of what we do. But
that includes today, by the way. If something else breaks today or tomorrow or whenever, we're not going anywhere.
I'm being texted all the rumors.
We have just under 2,000 people watching right now as well, so make sure to hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already.
We appreciate that too. And yes, we're doing, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, we do have a Die Hard promotion going on during free agency.
Yes, which I will tell you about in exactly
2 minutes.
a minute and a half.
Great.
In the meantime, Charlie Bush, $5 super chat, finally got around to signing up for a Die Hard subscription.
Oh, Charlie.
Love you guys. Been listening daily since August 2022. Keep up the good work. I believe that was like when you first came on.
Yeah, that's
must be a
true.
big Carm guy.
Yeah, no. So Charlie's just me and Charlie. We walk down, just the primrose path of greatness is what we do with Charlie. But Charlie really goes his own way. He doesn't need me. Charlie's a guy that when he walks into the flower shop, he knows what flowers he wants to get for the special people in his life. He doesn't ask you to put the bouquet together. And he likes to have a bunch of colors in there because he sees the world in a glowing way that just few do. And that's what I love about Charlie Bush, and I'm really happy that he's aboard as a diehard.
Sorry, Charlie.
Charlie
is weird.
We regret to inform you, Charlie just deleted his account.
Charlie loves the flower shop.
Yeah.
My guy Steve's over there on Grand. They're phenomenal.
All right. Is that what you were doing? Some flower shop called Charlie's?
No, there's no. I just felt beautiful things flowing around me, and that's what I got to.
Bragg's in the stands. Hang on, Bragg's
No
in the
flowers for
stands.
that guy.
Yeah. By the way, if you would like to be like Charlie and get a weird shout out from Carm, you can join right now. We got this awesome offer. It only costs you $3 a month now, $36 for the whole year. Now's the time to celebrate. Free agency frenzy. You can scan that QR code right there. Sign up. It's super easy. Become a diehard. And again, the best part is right now, it's not my newsletter. It's not all the awesome. You get. It's not the free T-shirt you get. It's not the 20% discount on merch you get. It's not the 20% discount you get on events like our draft party coming up. It's not all the awesome diehard content you get for the Bulls and Blackhawks and Cubs and White Sox and everything we do here. It's Fran Duffy's draft guide.
Fantastic.
Right, it's fantastic.
It's phenomenal. It's sensational.
Yes. So now's the time. Scan that QR code. Become a diehard. We love you. All right.
Thank you. $2 from Honey Bear. Carm makes fun of Bill Murray, now advocates, #Hedge. I advocated for him, Honey Bear, in relation to Ryan Bates. I know that's hard for nuance and Brags in the stands lands, but it's okay, Honey Bear. Just the pom-poms are on the way.
By the way, the Honey Bear nickname, we had a pre-show meeting. That's sticking.
Oh, believe me, I'm getting him the outfit. He's gonna look fantastic.
Q Harlan, $5. Never mind a new nickname for Brags. When does the great debate about bringing back the Honey Bears begin? We talked about that a little bit pre-show too.
Would you like to weigh in on you think it's actually remotely possible?
Well, no, I don't.
Okay.
Not necessarily, but I do believe that was more of a Virginia thing. So it's on the table. I don't think it's necessary though.
Well, it's definitely not necessary.
Yeah.
But people, listen. All I know is if they do bring back the Honey Bears, I've got the assistant to the assistant manager ready to go. And he'll go right from the tailgate, right to Soldier Field, and he'll be ready. So
gonna Brags run the Honey Bears?
No, he's gonna be distantly in the corner rooting for them, but we'll get him in there because he will be good support.
Another new diehard, Gavin Turpin, Bragg's fellow region rat here, just became a diehard today. Bear down.
You know, Gavin, you might not remember the great Mel Turpin, but he's somebody that I hope was not in your family because he was terrible, and you're not terrible, Gavin. One of Michael Jordan's greatest dunks was right over Mel Turpin when he was in Utah. And if you saw Air, by the way, with Matt Damon and company,
great
and the
movie.
guy says in the room, like, I like Mel Turpin. He was like, you. Why do you like Mel Turpin? Because some dipshit said that they like Mel Turpin, and now you're saying that you like Mel Turpin. He's going to be a great player in Europe. Gavin Turpin, you're not in Europe. You're right here. You're getting it. And nothing wrong with Europe, by the way. I love our Europe Bears fans. But Gavin, GT, good times, my man. It's always a good time when you're hanging with Gavin, and now he's a part of our diehard community.
How about news on another Turpin that just re-signed with the Cowboys? Kevontae Turpin signs a 3-year, $18 million deal. I'm actually a little upset about that when I thought he could have been the Bears' answer at returner.
I like him.
He led the league in return yards last season. I even asked Clarence over at DLLS about him and whether or not he thought that they were going to bring him back. And, well, he was pretty critical of his wide receiver skills, but what he brings as a returner is tops in the league.
Yeah. By the way, Carm also, like long snappers, does not think that kick returners matter.
Disagree. They have the ball in their hands, and there are people trying to tackle them. Unlike
a snapper literally starts with the ball in his hand.
But you can't touch him. He's like a protected entity.
Well, the Packers can. Packers can go right through you.
Okay.
Sangamon Outdoors. My diehard CHGO box should be here today. #bear down.
Can I get a diehard toot? Does that mean he wants the? Does he want the Carmonica? Does he mean by that with the toot?
Yeah.
I think you might want a diehard toot. I don't have it in front of me today, Sangamon. That's a bad job by me. But let me tell you something. You know what? Everybody loves the comfort of being inside, being with their fuzzy, and cuddling up, and
they're fuzzy,
they're blanky, whatever it is that you know the.
I sat outside last night and wrote my newsletter by the fire.
See, well, you and Sangamon. That's why Sangamon felt you outdoors last night.
Mm-hmm.
Sangamon's a guy that, when he steps into a campsite, he's not like who's building the fire. Sangamon's doing it himself. He's going to get the kindling. He's going to get the big time. He's going to get the big time logs. He's going to build it right. Sangamon doesn't skip steps. He does all the steps. And that's why Sangamon has been able to be successful, and that allowed him to become a diehard today, and we appreciate it. My guy Sangamon.
Great job. All right. Appreciate you being here, Sangamon, and we'll get that toot for you. And I'm not reading that Bragg's comment on the air. A couple things to let you know about. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., we have a brand new episode of the All NFL Podcast. Continue with Fran Duffy, breaking down position by position. Tomorrow, we're going to do cornerbacks and safeties on that show. These episodes are pretty evergreen, so if you missed our edge rushers from a couple weeks ago, we did running backs last week. Great way to catch up and prep for the draft because Fran's got all the information. Remember, the draft guide has all the information. These podcasts are kind of more of a condensed way to get through the top 10 at every position, but he goes way beyond that in the draft guide if you're a diehard. Check it out. That'll be live tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central on the All NFL channel. That's a separate channel, separate podcast feed, but available everywhere this show is too. YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Go look it up, All NFL. We'll be back here tomorrow as well. Be a busy Tuesday. Speaking of Fran Duffy will be on the show tomorrow as he is every Wednesday. And interesting thing about Fran, obviously, he's been he's killing it with draft coverage, but he's been doing write-ups on these prospects for years and years and years and years. So I want to ask him about these free agents the Bears have signed and what his scouting is on the free agents. And he also tiers all of these players based on contracts. And so I want to find out where the Bears sign these guys, what tiers they fall under. He keeps track of all this stuff. And so tomorrow's conversation with Fran Duffy should be super, super interesting. We're also awaiting word of some availability at House Hall with these new guys. So if and when that happens, we will have that covered, of course, this week. It's only Tuesday. We got a lot more coming your way. Thank you to Stephen Nicholas doing such a great job producing.
GOAT.
And even though Greg isn't here today, he's been killing it behind the scenes too with clips and getting all kinds of stuff going and getting me in trouble with Javon Dexter, I guess. Why do you keep shaking your head?
Braggs has nothing to do with that.
Oh, was it you?
No. It was from the show.
So it's me?
They're listening.
I did it? I don't even know about this, to be honest with you.
I'm confused too. We love Javon Dexter Sr.
He's a friend of the program.
Great dude. So this is not anything other than we'd love to see him have a great season.
You're on Pat Manley's shit list, though, for sure.
I think Pat is one of the great long snappers in Bears history.
Not one of the best.
I think Pat is the best long snapper in Bears history.
Okay.
Hands down. I mean, I wouldn't even put him in a snap-off against Patrick Scales.
All right. Whatever. See you tomorrow. Noon Central. Talk to you then.
We all silly like the mayor.